We don't need debate, Sheba said, her tone velvet over steel. We need a solution. Karun leaned back in his seat, shadows curling around his jaw like smoke. Well, step one should be figuring out how to get your Aziran to show up for meetings, he said, tone dry enough to cut. He could at least pretend to be concerned about what's happening with his creation. The council shifted uneasily. Heads turned. Aziran. The word rang heavy, the sacred term for a divine counterpart. His barb had landed where he meant it to. Sheba's lips curved, not in warmth, but in warning. A smile that stripped heat from the room. He's not here, she replied, voice steady as a blade. But I am. I'll let him know what we decide. He will come, if I tell him his presence is required. Karun's gaze broke first. He sat back, saying nothing more. What do you propose, then? Zuberi asked, his tone careful, respectful. Sheba's eyes flicked to the star-strewn horizon beyond the chamber, light glinting off her celestial markings. Something unreadable passed through her gaze. I propose we elect Deneri, she said softly. He's already on Earth, and he's of age. He can find his counterpart and fix the mess these two have made. The words fell like stones into still water. The chamber stilled. Even the memory mirrors around them went motionless, as if the entire room held its breath. Across the table, Kalum shifted, his pale fingers tightening imperceptibly around the arm of his chair. Elisaria's lips parted slightly, but no sound escaped. Her lashes lowered in a slow blink. Who's going to tell her? Kalum's voice slid into her mind, low and dry, a whisper bound in secrecy. Elisaria didn't so much as flinch. Her expression remained composed, her posture elegant, but her reply thrummed against his skull like a sigh. Tell her what? That the last thing we need is to entrust the fate of the world to her thick-skulled son. A flicker of amusement tugged at her mouth, though her chin stayed high. After the way she just cut down Karun. Not me. You do it. Kalum's nostrils flared, his eyes narrowing toward the floor to hide the spark of frustration. Not happening. We only just earned these seats. They aren't permanent. We can't risk it. It has to be one of the 10 Elisaria's lashes lifted again, her gaze skimming across the chamber as if she hadn't just had a conversation no one else could hear. To the rest of the council, they looked like two statues carved in marble, still, cold, compliant. But beneath the surface, their bond held the dangerous intimacy only a few pairs had ever mastered. And they, like the others who possessed the gift of telepathy, would never admit it aloud. Of the 10 permanent members of the Lorien, Zuberi shifted first, his jaw clenched as if forcing the nerve to speak. No, he said flatly. He's unstable. He walks too close to Sati's nature, Asheka added, voice low. Yes, I agree, Elisaria agreed with a nod. Deneri is too much like his uncle. He's our greatest risk, said Kalum, and our greatest liability. But he's also our sharpest blade, Sheba replied, and sometimes it takes darkness to expose what hides in the dark. The chamber erupted with noise again, a low tremor of unease. Tajir frowned at his sister. Do you trust him? I trust what he can become, Sheba answered with certainty. Mailani studied her carefully. And the woman? Who is to be his counterpart? Do you know her yet? I do. She's strong, Sheba said, not pure. Not perfect, but powerful in the ways that matter. She'll call something out of him no one else could, or awaken the worst in him, Karun warned with an indignant snort. It could go either way. We've seen it before. Then pray this time is different, Sheba said simply, her tone sharp. It will be, Leorayan said quietly. All heads turned. His counterpart, she will balance him. Leorayan had not spoken since the meeting began. But now her voice carried the clarity of truth, as if she'd already lived the moment. No one was really clear on her power. Maybe she had lived it before. It was possible. She will feel like home to him, Leoran continued, looking off into space, focused on something no one else could see. And he is the only thing that can ignite her. The match to her flame. Well, there you have it. Zuberi folded his arms. Then we risk everything on a flame we cannot control, one that still is endeared by Sati. He thinks of Deneri as his own son. But he's not his son. He's Rama's, and mine, Sheba countered, her voice slightly elevating, making Zuberi sit back in his seat. And we risk more by doing nothing? Noted, he muttered. So that's it? Ariel, still standing in the center, looked between them, disbelief softening into grief. You're replacing us that quickly? Sheba's fiery eyes narrowed in on her. You gave up your position, what do you expect? For us to sit around and wait for Sati to find out what you've done? A long pause followed. Leorayan, now silent once again, said nothing, but her fingers tapped once against the arm of her throne, a subtle rhythm that only Sheba noticed. She understood what it meant. Be sure of this before you move. Zuberi folded his arms, still unyielding, though his tone was much gentler. And what if the dark inside him wins? What if he betrays us? He won't, Sheba said quietly. Her voice didn't rise, didn't tremble. It simply was. I know my son. No one responded right away, but none of them argued further. The cost of delay was greater than the risk of faith. When will you inform Rama? Elisaria asked finally. Sheba turned her eyes back to the galaxies outside the chamber, back to the sun where her one true love dwelled, distant and burning bright. A beat passed, then another, and then finally she spoke. Soon.